welcome to Around the Campfire with AmeriCamp, the ultimate summer camp podcast. Today we are here talking to one of the amazing camps that we have coming along to our November camp fair in Manchester on November 4th. I just so happen to have been to this camp, so I'm very excited to get to talk to two of the wonderful members of staff. We've got Fred and Gus here, and they're going to introduce themselves. So Gus, do you want to give a little bit of an intro, like your past with the Y and your role at camp?
My name is Gus. I have been working with summer camp since 2011. I have a pretty interesting journey. That's makes it even more interesting that it actually started at CFAD at Camp Frankenday.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so I've been a director in Utah, YMCA Camp Roger. I've been a director at Camp Sequoia Lake in California, and then Camp Kern in Ohio. And then now I'm here at CFAD, but I originally came out here as a fifth grader as for an outdoor education program here for a little science trip. So it was really surreal coming full circle, moving back to Massachusetts, and then also coming back to my first camp experience and being a director here. So
that's so fun. It's such a full circle moment. And we also have Fred. Fred, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm Fred. I've been going to CFRAD, Camp Frankenday, since 2019. So last summer was my third summer, and I'm going back next year. I was a unit director last year, so was in charge of our middle age group, 11 to 13, and helped the junior unit, which Juliette worked with me alongside previously. But so I was in charge of helping run that and making camp really fun. My dad did camp in the 1980s, so I was always aware of it, but the best decision I made was going to camp and finding an amazing camp like CFAD.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to call it CFAD through the whole thing. It is Camp Frankenday, but it's CFAD. Everyone's going to call it CFAD. That's awesome. Yeah, so I mean, I've been on the podcast before, but for anyone who's not listened to any of our episodes before, my name's Juliette and I work for AmeriCamp, but I did go to Camp Frankenday for 3 summers, 2 as a counsellor, and then last year I was the junior unit director, so I was what Fred is now before what Fred is now.
I stole your job.
But we obviously worked very closely together. So I'm really excited to talk about camp because let's all just agree that it's the best place in the entire world. And I'm really excited for the people that might potentially get hired there at our November fair. So I kind of wanted to start off by giving you guys an opportunity to kind of describe, how would you describe CFAD to someone who might be sort of joining for their first year, someone who's coming along to the camp fair, doesn't know anything about CFAD. How would you describe what they should expect if they join the CFAD family?
I would describe it as joining this really cool club.
Exclusive.
This really cool club where everyone is just gonna care about you and everyone wants to get to know you, and you basically especially staff training, it's going, especially if you've never been to camp, it's going to camp for the first time. Not only being trained, but you're getting introduced to all the different traditions and all the different passions that you can find at camp, right? Because at camp there's a little bit of everything for everybody, and so I mean that's what I love about camp, right? And Fred, how would you describe it?
As a Brit going over, it definitely fulfills a lot of your preconceived notions of what it looks like. It's wood cabins in the forest, by a lake, it's an amazing, beautiful place. But then the sort of stuff that you don't really realise is CFAD's been around for over 100 years. So there's so much culture and love from you've got 80-year-olds, 50-year-olds who are so passionate at coming back to camp and seeing it. So there's just this amazing environment that's been built up over the years where you just it's intense, but as a result of that you develop the most intense and amazing relationships and friendships with people.
Absolutely.
And it's an amazing.
Yeah, I mean, besties.
Yeah.
It's funny because I always slip into giving CFAD history lessons in the office, and everyone's tired of me talking about this, but I'm did you know that it was established in 1916 and it was originally a boys' camp? And they're actually I don't care. But it's just got so much history. It definitely has its own microculture.
You learn so much.
To add on to where Fred was saying too is Like you can meet like a camper who just came this past summer, one who came in the 70s, one who came in the 80s, one in the 90s, early 2000s. And like even just like, I mean, I'm sure at some point we'll talk about color war, but like the just like
Yeah, we'll talk
the
about it.
things that they did during those are the exact same things the camper this summer just did. So off the bat, like you have this connection through tradition. What they everyone's experienced the same thing because it's just been such a long tradition. So it's really cool. The traditions here are insane and they're awesome.
I would say on top of that, like we have both experienced like being able to add things. Like you like invented an award in 2019. I think that like everyone's really open to like new. So there's like the deep rooted traditions, but also like there's so much new stuff that happens every year. If you're like a new counselor, you can like contribute so much. Like you can like plan your own event from scratch and there'll be people to like support you in doing like whatever you want to do with your summer. Like it's so much fun.
Yeah. I think you sort of feel like you're adding a little bit to like the history that's going on and like making a difference. Even if you're there for one summer or 3, like you've got a little footnote in the history of.
I'm gonna cry, you guys. Yes. Do you want to tell that story?
So we have awards at camp for like a 50-mile run, 100-mile run, where they like get their name wrote on a plaque, and it's been going on for years. And at the beginning of the summer, as a joke, we said, "Oh, we could do the 20-mile griddy. Like, wouldn't that be funny? Like the little dance." And a couple of campers who were in my unit took it upon themselves to like get their Fitbits out, and would spend their entire hour of Super Choice, when you can do anything, they would spend the entire hour just griddying around the unit. Like
and it accumulates over the summer. You don't need to do 50 miles in one run.
So over the course of the summer, they hit like 2 weeks in, they hit 20 miles. Then like 4 weeks in, they were at 50, and then they ended up by the end of the summer hitting the 100-mile griddy.
That's
and like
insane.
Created their own plaque, and it was just like.
And then awards night is just like insane. Like it's just so fun.
It was like an amazing thing that they've invented.
Perfect. Okay, and I kind of want to give like for context for the people that have never been to camp before who are coming to the camp fair. I always say like when I'm talking to new applicants that like every camp is so different, but we give them like a general day in the life of like what you might do. But how would you, like Fred, how would you describe like a normal day? I know there's no normal day at CFAD, but like the kind of like, I guess what you'd expect from like the day. What would you do like in a normal day at camp?
So
it's going to be different for you because you're a unit director, but if you're like in your first year.
Yeah, so like as staff, what you would do?
Yeah. Exactly.
So usually you'd get woken up about 7:45, something like that. And then at 8:20, you go to flagpole and raise the American flag, which feels like so aggressively American to be with, like, and everyone says the Pledge of Allegiance, which like, you know,
it's weird the first couple times.
Yeah, but now I know like off by heart, and I'll like if I meet an American out and about, I'll like scare them by saying the Pledge of Allegiance to them.
We always have like a morning thought at flagpole, like just like a little something that the cabin wants to say, that's just like starts the day off nicely, which is always cute.
Yeah, and then you'll go for breakfast, and they go into after they've cleaned the cabins and stuff, they go into plaque, which is like sports where they compete against each other for the whole summer in different sports and these teams that are assigned to them. Yeah,
it's like a tournament that lasts like all summer.
Yeah, so you'll like, as a council, you'll like split them into 2 teams, and it'll be like they'll be playing soccer or I hate that I called it soccer.
Like alternate whatever, yeah.
Yeah, and then after that they'll have picked activities that they're going to go to, so that might be like arts and crafts, music, basketball, like. So as a counsellor, you end up teaching a variety of things. So like, I think sometimes you think sleepaway camp, I definitely thought it was going to be like sports related, but actually it's not as much that.
Well, if for us specifically, a lot of camps are going to hire you for like a specific like activity leader, but we're just like, we were always just like general counsellors that would like just do a little bit of everything. So I did like music, drama, LARPing, which I've spoken about on the podcast before, and then like archery. I did like 1 session of volleyball once, which is like doesn't make any sense because if you've met me, you know I'm like the least sporty person like ever, but I'm sure you did like everything.
Like for me, I would do more football orientated things.
Soccer,
but yeah, so that like occupies the morning, and then they have lunch and they have rest hour where like it's like nap time, chill in the cabin. It's a pretty good hour.
Rest hour, best hour.
They definitely need it. And then after that, we're lucky because we're beside Lake Quaconquasit, so like by a lovely, like amazing lake. So they would do like swimming lessons and like water sports on there, like paddle boarding, kayaking. We had a speedboat, so they would do water skiing, like amazing stuff like that. And then it goes into Super Choice, which is where we've got like amazing outdoor spaces where the kids can like play basketball or like
do whatever,
gritty, you know.
Yeah.
They're open to do whatever.
Invent something. They'll come up with something to do.
Yeah, there'll be various friendship bracelet making, all that sort of stuff. Then dinner, and then we do things like evening activities. Mm-hmm. So it'll be like a scavenger hunt, or you'll do like a
talent show. We call it coffee house, but all sorts of stuff. It's really just like such a good mix, and I feel like a lot of people are kind of like, I don't even know like what to expect, what to imagine. You kind of just have to go with the flow and like see what happens, but it's super fun. I know that you mentioned Color War before, Gus. I was like wondering I know it's like been your first summer, so you've kind of like experienced it all and kind of taken it all in and processed it. I wondered what both of your favorite camp traditions are. So whether it be like Color War, coffee house, chapel, like whatever, what is like your number one, the one that you look forward to the most throughout the summer, or the one that you enjoyed the most for your first summer?
For me, I really, really, really enjoyed Color War. It's pretty unique what CFAD does, in the sense of like the color that you get sorted into. That's your family for life, as we say on camp, right? And
it's intense.
Yeah, and like that's something.
Green.
Green is supreme. And so you get sorted into either gray or green.
Like once you transfer into purple, you're not really meant to be like green.
But like you get sorted into either gray or green, and that's your color for as many years you come to camp as camper staff. Alumni come onto camp and they'll do their chants too. Like, and it's definitely a very unique way of doing Color War. I've never seen any camp I've worked at. So it's really cool. That tradition's really deep seated. But not only that, but just the camaraderie, right? You basically put the entire camp against each other. And then in about 36 hours, right? Like staff, like best friends on staff, best friend campers. Sometimes they're on different sides, right? And then when it's all over, when Purple, which is the leadership team, goes off to discuss, by points who's the winner and do all the calculations, like the camp comes back together, and there's tears and there's hugs and there's just I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. It's one of the most magical things I've been able to witness, and it's great. It's awesome, and it teaches healthy competition to our campers. So that's a really cool aspect. And then the other favorite thing I love is at the end of the session, we call it chips, right? It's when
chip speeches.
Chip speeches, which
don't even like
which to me, right? Like you meet these kids at the beginning of the session, and I mean I know for a fact, me as a kid, I'd never get up in front of over 100 people and talk about my feelings, right? Right? Your feelings and your experience. And these kids are doing that, right? Yeah. The kids are doing it. The staff are doing it. They're getting up and they feel so comfortable on camp. And that's something that as staff, we got to create that environment, right? We get to create that environment. The kids are now like, they're getting up like from 7 to 17, right? Like they're getting up and they're making a line and they're talking about their experience and what they love about camp. And I think that's magical, and that's camp. And that's something that staff get to be a part of in creating that environment. And it's awesome. So, you guys have done it.
Yeah, that's such. Fred's gonna make fun of me because I'm like infamous for like the worst chip speeches. Like I break down, and I've made a chip speech every single Color War that I ever worked, which I think is like not most staff do that. They kind of save it. But like I genuinely
Every time she would be like, Fred, if I get up to do a chip speech, like tackle me in like
Do not let me do a chip speech. And then I see him letting me do a chip speech, so I just get up and do it anyway. Fred, what would your favourite tradition be?
I really like, we do it a few times over the summer. So we do chapel, which is
I love
like
chapel.
a space that we have. It's like not a religious like zone. It's like we have a sleeping day, and then we go to this space where there's these benches underneath the trees, with a little like stand, and people will get up and read poems or tell stories that like have these like nice messages behind them. And some of the poems will be like, they'll be like similar camp ones.
The iceberg lettuce one is my favourite.
Yeah. Or sometimes like people will come up with stuff they've made up themselves. Like there's kids who wrote stuff in school and read it up.
Yeah,
Or
haikus.
Like, lots of haikus about
about camp. And then like songs as well. A lot of people like bring a guitar, do some like classic camp songs.
Yeah, it's a real like traditional like isn't like nice camp image, like sat playing a guitar with everyone in this amazing space with lights coming through the trees.
Yeah, it's like always well timed for like, it's the day after like an intense event, so it'll be like the day after Colour War, day after Olympics. Like you've slept in, you just like reflect and like sing together, and like it's just really beautiful.
Yeah, it's just a really like wholesome, nice moment, and like you get to see it. Maybe shows like gives the kids who've got maybe like a more proficient like poetry, or like have got a bit more
a different
creative
talent
flair.
other than like football or whatever. Yeah, that's really sweet. I would say that my favourite is Coffee House. I'm a big fan. I mean, I could say Colour War, but I feel like I'm just like emotionally volatile during Colour War. But Coffee House is so special. Basically, Coffee House is the talent show. And the reason that it's called Coffee House is that originally it was like meant to be like a coffee house type like things like slam poetry and that sort of thing, but it just developed into like the most like insane talent show you've ever seen. But the final Coffee House of the summer is always my favorite night, because every child will sign up to do some sort of talent. Completely like, sometimes it'll be like really practiced, they've been like practicing it all summer. Sometimes it's just like they sign up with no plan and they just get up there and do something. But I've seen so many iconic coffee house performances. Like we had one kid who did like stand-up comedy, and I'm like never gonna forget the stand-up comedy set because it was so brilliant. Do you remember the kid that did like a hip hop like street dance, like break dancing? Was so good.
Little like 7-year-old
did break dancing, so good. And I love Coffee House so much that like if my day off fell on Coffee House, I just like wouldn't leave for my day off. I would just stay. Like I just want to see it. Even if it lasts like hours and hours, like there's way too many people signed up. It's just so much fun. And I always like ended up getting roped into like at least like 3 performances. So yeah, it's super, super fun. I love Coffee House. We also have like a staff show, which is like a staff talent show, which is also very fun, but Coffee House is the best. Okay, perfect. And we've kind of like touched on like our favorite traditions, and talked about like some of the things that we love about camp and being on the shores. But I wanted to kind of just get like your summary of sort of like what it is that you love about CFAD. Like what is it that makes it so special? Because I think like sometimes we're talking about it and they're like, isn't it just like any other camp? And I'm like, no, it's not. It's the best. So what would you say is like your favorite thing about CFAD? Fred, do you want to go first, or do you want to sometimes think about it?
No, I can give it. I think it just, my favorite thing about it is that it just like provides like this amazing like space for people to just fully embody whoever they are and like be 100%. Accepted, and like you can come from, everyone comes from all around the world. The counsellors and campers come in from all different backgrounds and stuff, and it just provides this amazing space where they can just like enjoy themselves and be happy and be goofy and be silly, and that's just like perfectly okay. And like that's definitely for me, like that helped me, like just being in a silly goofy environment and being like, oh, this is like actually how I should be enjoying myself all the time. Like this is work, but it's also very enjoyable and very fun.
It definitely helps you like embrace life outside of camp a little bit more as well. You just kind of like, your inhibitions are a little bit like, you just feel like you're accepting yourself. It's just really cool. Gus, have you got like a favorite thing you'd like to share?
For me, I would say just like the I guess again, my first summer here, and like what I got to see that was really huge and awesome was how quickly we all just became passionate about this place. You know, how quickly the culture really just takes you in, and next thing you know, like you'll see staff just like going all out, and you're just like, hey, take it easy, and they're like, no, it's for the kids, you know, and it's just like. It was definitely one of those things. I mean, in like I've worked at many camps, right? And like they all have this passion and a capacity, but like there is definitely something special. There is something different here going on the shores here.
There's something in the water.
Yeah, there's something in the water. There's something about the lake. There's something about the sunsets. The sunsets are amazing.
Unbelievable.
Like there's just something about being here that really makes you want to give it your all, and it's awesome, and the kids see it, and the staff know it, and it's awesome.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I literally I made a chip speech. I made a chip speech, like my first ever color wall, that I had like written in my journal during rest hour. Like I really had thought it through, and it still didn't turn out well, but it's fine. Where I was talking about sort of like the realization that I'd come to within my first like month of camp was that the really unique and special thing about CFAD is that like, you know, it's not about being the best football player or the best like musician or the best artist or the best swimmer. Like it's really just a place where you embrace like whatever you're coming with, and for a lot of the children that come to our camp, like they genuinely live like the other like 9 months of the year just for camp, because it's the place where they feel the most safe. Like they might not feel very accepted at school, but we have a really inclusive, accepting environment that really celebrates like the parts of people that they might be insecure about. I felt like I was like, when I first came to camp, you know, wasn't really confident in how like, you know, gobby or enthusiastic I was, but suddenly being like a chatty, like extroverted, like nutcase was like really valued and was really like special. And it's also just like the most amazing place to make friends. You really do just make like insane connections so quickly. Everyone has like this, as you say, Gus, like this passion, and working together on like this shared goal of like making camp the best it can be really like bonds you on a level that you wouldn't expect. So yeah, it's awesome. But enough of my chip speech. That was just a preview of my chip speeches. They don't usually go that smoothly. So, okay, perfect. Well, that's, you know, kind of my main questions. Is there anything like any like fun anecdote from this summer that you'd like to share to like round us off at all? I'm sure Fred has like 1,000.
Yeah.
I have previously on the podcast told my favorite story from camp. I basically was like talking about how in 2019 we had this like flamingo gate where like my cabin like surrounded a boys' cabin with like garden flamingos, and then they like were kidnapped and like returned to us slowly like decapitated. It was just so ridiculous, but it's that kind of thing where like if you can get your kids on board with like some silly like story or like game or whatever, like you really can just make the day just like so much more like magical and fantastical. So that's my favorite story, but I've already told it on the podcast. So
the one that comes to mind is happened in your unit, Fred. Do you remember the group of kids?
It's always in the juniors.
That walked around and they were like, "Do you want to be part of my cult?" And it was like the cow something cult. No, but it was just funny because they make you stand in a circle and then they do this little chant, and then they give you a high five and be like, "You're part of the cult now," and that was it, right? But it was just silly. But what made it even funnier was like it's like checkout, and like there's parents everywhere. Like these kids are pulling in parents to stand in this circle, and the parents are just like, "What is going on?" It's camp. I promise you, like it's not that deep. It's just
I've been told before that how I describe camp sounds cultish, but it's just a fun community, okay? But But also, like, we had an activity in 2019 called Yada Kanaf, which is Franke Day backwards, and it was like where we like did a theme day where we had to like induct them into Yada Kanaf, and we had to start like saying things backwards, like we were working out how to say like color war backwards, like. So I can, that's just classic cult behavior.
The cult was very good. If I remember, it was based around. Chocolate milk, I think, was the name.
Oh, well, it's an important commodity.
And you would get given a number and they'd be like, right, you're number 11. Like,
yeah.
And that's how you were referred to from then on.
We had, in 2019 as well, we had people sign a petition called Dads, and it was Dads supporting Danny DeVito Society. And it was like you had to pledge your allegiance to Danny DeVito. I don't know why or how, but we had a picture of Danny DeVito in our cabin and it turned into a whole thing. So, yeah. What's an anecdote that you like from this year, Fred? Or any year, like your favourite one?
Oh, there's so many.
There's too many.
I put my campers through Jedi training, and then we did all
FEWAC.
Probably from this summer. Me and two of the other unit directors, Michaela and Maya.
The loves of my life.
Yeah, legends. Originally it was going to be Spy Night, and then we got closer to planning it, and we were like, I'm not too enthralled by this. And obviously Barbie was on at the time. So we decided to do Barbie night.
Oh, fun.
Where everyone had to dress in pink and each counsellor was dressed as different Barbie. So like Malibu Barbie, Space Barbie. And they had to do like different activities. So there was one which was just called Beach. where they played beach volleyball. There was a rave in a cabin with Ken where they just listened to horse music. There was we had Aviation Barbie, who along with some of our LITs ran like a LARP where you pretended to get on the plane with Aviation Barbie and the plane crashed, but the plane was just a bench. No. And like you had to like check in and do all this stuff, and the plane crashed, and then it was just like the most brilliant evening, and then it rounded off by everyone meeting back up at the flagpole and just having an impromptu like dance party to
amazing.
I
feel like impromptu dance parties happen like constantly.
So often.
But that's like one of the things I love is that you can just like create any evening that you want. I've like put on some really weird activities. Some of them worked really well, some of them were just like so strange. But like we had one where like the like previous camp director had like used a shrink ray on everyone to like turn us tiny, and then we had to use like tiny hands, the ones that you can like put on your end of your fingers to like do everything, and it was just like a mess. And we like individually put like Gatorade in like little antidote bottles, so they had to drink like a tiny bottle of Gatorade to like be cured. Like it was just like so nuts, but awesome. Yay. Thank you so much, guys. Obviously you are coming along to our camp fair in November, and I'm really excited to see who gets hired to join like the CFAD family, and have like the best summer ever on the shores. But I was kind of wondering like what kind of person are you looking for to hire at the camp fair? Who do you think is like the ideal beacon light CFAD candidate?
I think someone with an open mind, with creative individuals, and just people who just want to working with. I mean, everyone's doing this because they want to work with kids, right? So just having a passion for working with kids, being creative. Having great communication skills is really huge.
Yes.
Great communication skills. Yeah, is massive. And then just willing to give, CFAD a go is the biggest thing. Like, just show up and, just go with the waves. Just go with it. Embrace it. Yeah, it's huge.
100%. You really do have to like jump in like fully and just like take it as it comes and like accept a lot of like really interesting traditions and stuff. But I also like feel like you touched on something so important there, which is like the children are just the most incredible like group of kids. We've got kids that have been coming for such a long time who are so special. So people that really like have a good like philosophy on like looking after children and really want to like give them the best summer, because as I said before, like a lot of them don't feel like they have like the same like safety and like fun and security and love like outside of camp. So it's a really special time for them.
I think like that's the bit that, you know, like going away doing Camp America, like part of it is to go to a different country and like experience that culture and be away for the summer. But ultimately, like the bit that you'll take the most from when you go home is how rewarding the job is. Like, working other jobs isn't the same as working at camp. Like, seeing the difference that you can make in those kids and like the enjoyment that they can take from it is like by far and away the most like rewarding and best bit of camp.
And the things you learn at camp as a staff member, you can also apply to real life. Like people management, right? You're managing, you know, up to 10 kids, right? Like time management, right? Like just like social responsibility, like of just clean up after yourself, like all these things that you like learn, like people who came up and like do a camp song. You know how hard it is for like normal people to do a camp song, but at camp like to get up and sing and just like, you know, lead a group of people in a song. Like all those things are applied in the real world, and it's awesome because camp gives you all those skills. It's awesome.
Dare I say, respect, responsibility, honesty, caring, enthusiasm. When I was helping hire in 2019, we had like a sign that said, we're looking for people who like the color green, people who like the color gray, Swifties, fish.
I've actually been coming up with a notes page already.
I think we've got some ideas.
The first one was likes tacos on Tuesdays. That's the most
Tuesday.
important. Not on Wednesdays.
No other day of the week are we allowed to eat them. I think that would be brilliant. Definitely make one of those because we want to like get some fun people who are going to get up and, I don't know, sing all the camp songs. Who will write a haiku for chapel. That's what we're looking for. Someone who has experience in writing haikus would be ideal.
If you could come with a pre-prepared haiku.
If you could come to the camp fair with a haiku, then that would really convince you guys to hire, I think. Actually, that should be the bare minimum. I don't know why there isn't a haiku section on the application, but there you go. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us and talking about camp. It's obviously just made me so happy to talk about it. I mean, I spend all day, every day talking about camp, but like specifically CFAD and how great it is. I hope you guys are really excited for the camp fair and to hire some new people. And yeah, have a lovely it's lovely speaking with you, Gus. I'm really excited to see you in November. And yeah, I hope that you're looking forward to it.
Yeah. I am. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to see some of the staff too, and get to hire new people. Camp is right around the corner, it's not even November yet, but it's close. It's coming.
You need time to mentally prepare. Okay, perfect. And thank you, Fred, for coming. No problem. Also,
it's a bucket list moment. Big fan.
All right, bye, guys.